how important it is to be able to challenge and educate your clients. The market's changing, and the people that are going to lead in this particular market are people who can challenge and educate their clients to make smarter decisions to add value to their lives. One of the things that I'm passionate about is investing in property, and it was a big source of my business and my referrals. I worked with a lot of accountants, buyers agents, real estate agents through my time as a broker, which led me to be really successful. And having that deep industry knowledge, but not just deep industry knowledge, but knowing the right tools to use in a market like this is critical. So we look at the market at the moment. Obviously with rates going up, people are scared. You've got some people are going to stop doing something. They're going to be sitting there in panic, where other people are going to say, oh, there's a lot of opportunities. I'm going to use that opportunities and be guided by professionals to make the right decisions. So they're the types of people that we're looking to have really good conversations with and to really be able to educate in terms of the market. But first you need to obviously educate yourself and know what the best tools to educate are. So one of the things that I've put together today is the investment property influencer. And it's my guide to the right tools. So if you want a copy of these tools, just comment tools in the chat and I'll make sure that you get a copy. But I'm going to run through and give some examples of some of the tools that I use and why we use them. But if we look, first of all, in terms of, why is it important, right? One of the books that I love is called The Challenger Sale. And I'll show you one of the graphs from this book, The Challenger Sale, which highlights why you need to be looking at, really challenging and educating your clients, right? So if you look, they've done, in this book, they did a study, in terms of relationship builder, problem solver, hard worker, lone wolf, and the challenger. And, mortgages and property investment is a complex transaction. It's a complex sale, right? So in a higher complexity sale, the challenger is very likely to succeed. They did this study in just post GFC in a B2B studies, right? So the people who challenge and educate closed 54% of deals, right? Where those people who just understood a client's needs and went with what they were saying only closed at 4%, right? So this is why it's so important for you guys to be able to challenge and educate your clients, especially in this market. And to be able to challenge and educate them, you have to be educated yourself, especially when it comes to property investment. And this was obviously something that I was passionate about. So something I want to share with you today is some of the tools that you can have a look at. And again, if you want a copy of the tools, comment tools below and I'll show you. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a couple and I'm going to run you through them. Let me just share my screen. So if we look at some of the tools. So first of all, obviously most of you have used realestate.com.au and it's a great site. But in terms of the search, in terms of just looking, if we just go to the main page and you look at doing a search. Let's say for example we take everything out of it. Most of you know how to use this. So, but if you just look at a future, the filters, and let's say for example we wanted to invest, and a lot of people want that property with the X factor. So they may want a on this they may want a corner block, for example. So if we look at a corner block, so I'll type in the chat here. We want a corner block with development potential. So then this brings up 94 properties that are all corner blocks that have potentially development potential. If we want to see that on a map as well, in terms of where in Australia they're particularly located, depending on the areas that you want to zoom into, you could find those properties. But let's say, for example, we go in this one, you'll find that this is in Elizabeth Downs, a suburb in Adelaide, and this is situated on a 770 corner block, and there must say somewhere in here that there is development potential, right? So it says development potential. So it's just a quick and easy way to use that search to find some other benefits. And again, you may be looking for a block of units. You may be looking for some other different things within your search, right? So using those advanced search mechanisms and using those keywords, and maybe you're looking for a certain rental return, or you're looking for only ones that have a rent figure in. By using that advanced search, you're going to get a lot richer sort of information. So if we look at some others, if we look at, let's have a look at another one that I've put on the thing, which is called heat maps, right? So I'll share my screen in terms of looking at heat maps, right? So you can see here, this is one called heat map. So I've got a client who is in Bunbury in a couple of hours. So the postcode there is 6230. So if I search that, so 6230 is the postcode, and I will press search. So you can see here it brings up Bunbury. So if I click on Bunbury, you can see, and it gives us the information, right? So it gives us some information on those areas. It gives us the median price. We can change map layers. So let's say, for example, we want by rental yield, right? So I want to have a look at gross yield for houses. It gives me the guide over here in terms of, so what the guide is. If I move my head out of the way, you'll be able to see what the yields are. So there's 5% yields here. If we scroll down in terms of, looking at the this particular property, and again, let me click on that so it brings up the gross yield. So we can see there it's 5.34%. We can see the gross yield over time. We can see the median rent. We can see how those property prices have increased over time, and this is comparing it to New South Wales. You can see here that over the time for this particular suburb it's dipped, but now it's on the way back up, and what the median rent is, right? So a lot of great data in there. And again, on the map layers, is if we look at the different map layers, we can have a look by postcode, we can have a look by suburb, and the different growth. We can have a look by units, by houses, what the rent. So for example, if we wanted to put a layer in terms of what the average rent in is a particular suburb. So really a lot of great data to allow you to have really detailed conversations, because if you look at the market at the moment, certain markets like WA is obviously on the increase, and it's a lot more affordable than somewhere like Sydney or Melbourne. And places like South Australia and also parts of Queensland are still growing, right? Where a lot of the market is starting to slow by a little bit in a lot of these other areas. So having a tool like this is a great way to have a really detailed conversation. And maybe some of your clients are priced out of the market in Sydney, and they may want to rent vest, and you want to have detailed conversations. So by getting up to speed in terms of some of the different areas and having some examples of what some of your clients have done is a great way for you to really have those detailed conversations, right? So in terms of looking at some of the other sites that we can potentially have a look at, right? So if we have a look at, one of the ones who provide great insights is Hare and Todd White, right? In terms of Hare and Todd White will provide great analysis, and they do a report called the Month in Review. One of the things that is great to look at is looking at the property clock. They do a property clock in their month in review. This is a 70-page report, as you can see, but downloadable from their website, hdw.com.au. And they're one of the biggest valuers in Australia. And so they've got really good access to lots of information, right? So if we look at this particular report, and we're looking at in terms of units and houses here. So if we look at houses, for example, in terms of, it'll show a property clock. And we've just come through a really interesting cycle through COVID, where most of the property market was growing at the same time. And you can see, some places in terms of houses have hit the peak of their market based on their property clock. But you can see some of the areas like Brisbane, Bundaberg, Ipswich are just sort of recently moved and are in that point of rising market or approaching the peak of the market, right? So it gives you good insights where you can quickly have a look at the different areas in terms of what's happening in those areas for both units and houses. So this is the units one. And again, we see some of the starting decline in Melbourne, Southern Highlands, Canberra, for example, is a declining market in terms of units, but some of these areas are obviously still growing. The other thing I like on this report is if we go, down the bottom in terms of looking at the different statistics. And again, this will show you a summary of rental vacancy situations, rental vacancy trends, demand for new houses, trend in new construction, volume of house sales, and the stage of the property market. And then for each of those, it actually, goes down in terms of, if we look, this is the east coast of Sydney, for example. This is the capital cities. It'll break it down by state in terms of the different areas. So, for example, in Melbourne, in Geelong, Melbourne, Shepparton, Mildura. So a really good report that gives you a lot of great information in terms of the market and accessing the market. So in terms of if you want to have a look at some other sites, if I have a look at, one of the things is called microburbs, right? So in terms of, if you look at microburbs, so I've put in Parramatta, for example, here. So you'll see the property details, you'll see the median prices based on the different house prices, you'll see the growth for that particular suburb, you'll have a look at investor data and have a look at, what are the prices between median house prices, what has been their 3-year growth, what is the median rent. And again, you can get this for all of the suburbs within the particular area. It also goes down to, gives it a HIP score in terms of what's happening, in terms of the diversity, pubs, tattoo parlors, etc. The level of detail that it goes to in terms of that, the affluence score, safety score, lifestyle score, convenience score. So again, gives you a lot of great information on particular areas. So it allows you to really, get an understanding for the market and the particular market that clients are looking in. Because what people want, if they're going to invest outside their backyard, they want that information, because competence breeds confidence, right? And we want to breed certainty into clients, especially when they're investing their hard-earned money in terms of to make a long-term investment decision. So the more information you have at your fingertips, the more confidence that you can provide. Another one I love around this sort of thing, around demographics, is looking at, it's called id.com.au. And for example, if you're looking at, I've put in Perth here, but again, you can have a look at the population of Perth. You can then have a look at, in terms of, what is the population forecast, for example, right? So it'll give you the population per suburb. And again, you can click on different suburbs and it'll show you what the forecasted population is going to be. And again, these are sort of more macro demographics when clients are looking at property and doing those particular research. So again, the whole adage of supply and demand in terms of, looking at the different options for a client. So again, what I'm trying to really highlight in this is that knowledge is power, right? So the knowledge that you have in terms of, really being able to add value to clients is really power when you're looking at this type of thing. So really, really important. Really important. So some of the other things that I've mentioned in the guide, and again, if you want a copy of the tools, please press tools and I will get you a copy of the tools, because I think that's going to be really important for you. Okay, so again, in terms of looking at the reasons why you want to be an expert, obviously you want to be an expert because this is going to position you the best in a changing market, to be able to talk on a level, to educate yourself, to know what's happening in the market, provide those expertise and give clients more confidence, more understanding. This combined with the other knowledge, and I go through a lot within my program, again, in terms of what needs to be in that investor toolkit. And this just makes a small part of it in terms of understanding those web tools that are available to you to be able to do the research. Obviously, this comes down to understanding the basics of leverage and cash flow and how this particular properties will affect them over time. But if you've enjoyed that, please comment, please share, tag people in. If you are interested in learning more and you want to jump on one of our programs, again, send me a direct message and I'd love to have a chat in terms of how we can help you, because in this market, the people who get the right advice in terms of to get educated themselves, to be able to pass that, will be the ones that take market share. Remember, in this market, you're competing against other brokers. 70% of business is done by other brokers at the moment. So it's the brokers that are market leading and have the market edge knowledge and tools at their fingertips are the ones that are going to be able to really take advantage, educate their clients, add as much value as possible. And remember, you get paid for the value that you add. So again, comment tools below. I'll get you a copy of this. And if you want to reach out and you want some help, I'd love to have a chat. This has been another episode of the $1 Billion Broker Tips. Again, I'm working to provide a profitable business that you are proud of. I'll catch you next time.